And this is a hard reality, and this is probably going to piss off a lot of people for me saying this, but most friendships begin by necessity, and a lot of the best friendships are based on common mutual necessity, at least for men anyways. Now, here's why I think that most men today don't form close relationships or focus or close friend relationships. One is we're scattered. That's first. Second is the gynocentric social order does not want men coming together and even comparing notes. So when women are faced with the truth and the stats that show that anywhere between 3.5 to 5 times the amount of men kill themselves than women. And usually it's because, we need to focus on mental health. Men need to reach out. It's because of toxic masculinity. If they had real close friends, then they wouldn't kill themselves. Now, the burden of suicide, of male suicide, is not on women, not on anything that they could feel any kind of responsibility or remorse or regret. Women are supposed to be like the empathetic, sex, right? Except for when it comes to that. As soon as Anthony Bourdain put that noose around his neck after Asia Argento was like, the paparazzi caught her, tooling around Italy with her boy toy, and he got despondent, he got upset, and he got, he's 60 some odd years old. He thought that was going to be his lifelong girl. If you see the pictures of him with Asia Argento before all that went down, he's got his arm around her. He's doing the arm bar, and he was telling his friends, yeah, I think she's the one. And he was getting all behind like the Harvey Weinstein thing that she was involved in and everything else that was going on. And then all it took was like the paparazzi taking pictures of her walking around Italy with some guy who was like a hot 29-year-old guy. And remember, she's in her 40s at this time. She's walking around. She's clearly banging this guy. She even went to the paparazzi and said, can you please not put those pictures out? Because she was concerned that Anthony Bourdain was going to kill himself if he saw those pictures. And sure as shit, that's exactly what happened. Women do not want to be responsible for that. The first thing out of Rose McGowan's mouth, the first thing out of Asia Argento's and anyone in her quote unquote, Wicca sisterhood, the first thing they said was, it wasn't her fault. He didn't kill himself because of her. It was, he was on Xanax. He was depressed. He had problems. We need to focus more on mental health. It's men's fault. Men don't reach out. If he would have just reached out, he'd still be alive. No. You were the catalyst, and he was blue pill. And I've seen it a bazillion times. Guys will off themselves because they get zeroed out. And he wasn't zeroed out in the form of like money. He was zeroed out because what he thought he was going to have a future with this chick who he thought it was his one, who he said was his one, the guy who wore his heart on his sleeve. And yes, that documentary is coming out very soon. Women womankind did not want to be responsible for that. And so that was, and they knew that instinctively, reflexively, that's what they said. Well, it wasn't her. She didn't do it. No, she didn't. She didn't put the noose around his neck, but her actions were the catalyst, and she knew that they would be. So what that is when women hear like 3.5 to 5 times the amount of men successfully kill themselves between by the way, the demographic for which is 45 to 65 years old, right where Anthony Bourdain was. Now, this isn't a show about him, but what I'm saying is when it comes to like men lacking friendships or men killing themselves, or if there's or men not going to the hospital, or men not getting checkups, men not getting their freaking prostate checked out, or whatever it is, whatever men need to be responsible for that women might feel like they should have some empathy for, they don't want to have empathy for you, particularly if you're a beta male. Particularly if you're somebody who she has you can't do anything for her. Why should she care about you? But wait, ladies, 3.5 to 5 times the men kill themselves more often than women. That's if it was the opposite way, we'd have a special month dedicated to that. We would have like breast cancer awareness month in October. We would have women's suicide prevention month in December, something like that. You would see it would be insane the amount of money we would throw at that. We would have icons turning pink or purple or green or whatever the color happened to be for female suicide prevention month. You would get that. But instead, we don't hear that. The only place you're going to hear this like even talked about is right here, right in the manosphere. Either here or somewhere else. You're not going to hear that anywhere else. Sure shit. You ain't even going to hear that on Tim Pool. Tim Pool, come and tell me that you've talked about male suicide. Tell me that you've dedicated a book to the men who kill themselves. My second book was dedicated to that. Tell me you're doing that. No one is doing that. And even the people who should be doing that, they're not doing that. It's not something that's a concern for them, because what they do, and tradcons will do the same thing, by the way, is they'll point the finger back at the guy. Well, you should, responsibility, bootstraps, pick yourself up. You should have been you. If you don't have any close friends, it's your fault for not having close friends. Then we're not going to look at the causation. We're going to look at the correlation. Well, she didn't kill him. No, she didn't. But her actions precipitated that. That was the catalyst for it. But that's, he died from prostate cancer. Well, I guess that's just men. Men don't go and take care of themselves. They don't know enough. And now I'm going to show you a couple other stats here real quick before I push on a little bit. And I will go back and pick up the super chats here in a second. This is the number of close friendships Americans have declined over the past several decades. This is from, I got this from Steve Factor, which I'm going to show you his thread here on Twitter just in a second here. And this is pretty much that same data set, only it's presented a little bit differently. Okay. So this is the total. This isn't separated by gender. This is just people in general. Okay. So people who have 10 or more close friends in 1990, you could have bet it like 33 out of the, and this is what, out of 1,000, I think this was. I don't know how they did the data set here, but you can look that there was far more people had 10 or more. Now in 2021, we're looking at a factor of 20 right here, because that's 33 and this is 13, right? I mean, if we go and look at this kind of stuff, like 3, 12, this is none. People who have no close friends. So what happens is when something bad happens, like a suicide, where a guy gets zeroed out and he has no one to turn to, and trust me, if you don't, I want you to come to me. I want you to talk to somebody in the sphere. I want you to talk to somebody who even will at least very much pretend that they have some sort of, peripheral, surface level concern about you. I don't want, like, the whole reason I do this is so guys don't kill themselves. As you know, my brother-in-law's story, and one of my best friends was a DJ, actually swallowed a bullet because of the same thing, right? Again, it's very similar to Anthony Bourdain. No one to turn to, no one to talk to. You know what they'll say? That's your fault. You should, if you were a better person, you would have more friends. No. 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 And this is the average amount of time people, adults, spend online. Okay. 2008 all the way up to 2018. Now, I think that this is pertinent right here, because the interaction, the real-time interactions between men and women, the real-time interactions between women and women, the real-time interactions between men and men is definitely mitigate at the very least. Okay. Again, this is not causation. This is correlation, is at the very least is mitigated by this. That's how we communicate right now. We communicate online. I'm communicating with you online right now, while Ronaldo's probably scoring goals. Thank you for watching. But that's that buffer, and it's not just about, like, if you go and you read the very first Rational Male, one of the first chapters, well, not the first chapter, but I think it's like second or third in, I talk about buffers, and I put those on there because I was concerned with the way people were communicating. Guys were communicating. And the things that would sort of be buffers against what I called buffers against rejection. That's where I started it. Now I think buffers mean something a little bit different. Back in 2013, when I published my first book, buffers were, hey man, I'm good. I'm really hot with my text game. And I was a little concerned with that, because it's like, okay, that's great. And I wasn't against text game, and I wasn't against online dating. And I'm not. I'm still not against, Instagram. I know things are done differently right now, and I know it's all perception, but it's important that you understand that it is all about perception. I don't think a lot of people really make that connection, but it's also a buffer against rejection. You want to know why ghosting, or love bombing? I talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Love bombing, or fake nice, right? You want to know why that is such a concern for young ladies? Like ghosting, love bombing, I love you, I love you, I love you, right? What guy would think that that's a good idea? Well, one who doesn't understand communication, one who doesn't understand game, one who thinks that that's his sort of like, Christian duty to do. Well, I don't want to play games with you. I love you. Let's get married, right? Now that's the sort of blue pill alpha version of that, but like the red pill version of that is, you don't do that. You never say I love you first, and certainly not like immediately right out the gate. You want to know why love bombing, why women hate love bombing? Because it puts the burden of reciprocating I love you on that woman. Most guys, when they're desperate, and I'm going to put this is, by the way, this is in my 5th book. I talked about this, or I've written about it. You'll get it soon. When guys do that, when they say, I love you first, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get that woman to comply. And women do not want that, because the guy who does that is definitely not the guy for her. She wants to be the one who finds him so irresistible that she's the one who has to say, I love you. That's why when Royce was saying, I think it's like the very first commandment of Poon, never say I love you first, because of what that telegraphs to women. First of all, you lose frame. And then second of all, what is that saying? It's saying that I have only known you X amount of time, but hey, I love you. Usually that means officiality, right? Or official status. And it begs the question. Women, when women are told I love you by a guy, or when women are asked, hey, will you be my girlfriend? Remember that? Will you go steady with me? When women are asked that, what they're doing is you are attempting to remove sexual selectivity away from her. You are removing hypergamous control. When you say, oh, I love you, what you're saying is, I want you to say, I love you too. And if she doesn't, or if she is hesitant about that, it's usually because she's still determining, or has maybe already determined, that you're not the guy for her. You're not the best she thinks that she can do. Otherwise, she would have said it first. If you were that highly, if she had that much genuine desire for you, it wouldn't even occur. She'd beat you to it. She would beat you to the I love you first. And so what happens is when guys do that, it locks in with the nice faking or fake nicing, or what is something I can't remember, the fake something or other, but it's the idea that you're Mr. Nice Guy, right? They don't want that. They don't want you to be nice, because the niceness, clearly they don't. That's why 50 Shades of Grey is so popular. But the niceness is seen as a tactic, as a strategy. And the reason women hate it is because they feel obligated to return the niceness. They feel obligated to return the I love you. And if they don't, they feel bad for not doing that. And so what you're doing is you're instilling bad feels by confirming for them that you're actually blue pill and you're beta in the first place. That's why you don't do things like that. So, but there's that fear of rejection. There's always that rejection. There's in the back of a guy, because men have to perform, right? It's the burden of performance. Men have to initiate. Unless that woman has this uncontrollable white hot lust for you, she wants to tear your clothes off, you're going to be the one doing the initiating. Even if you're an alpha, like an alpha guy, right? The expectation is that you're still the guy the alpha guy is the guy who's in control. That's why they like the Handmaid's Tale. That's why they like that's why OnlyFans girls hate their simps. Because they're not banging those simps. Those guys have already confirmed that they're losers, that they're willing to pay just for the most basic form of milk of human kindness. Yeah, I get it. I get it, ladies. You suck them dry, take them, get the bag and run. But don't call yourself a humanitarian. Don't call it it's sex work. I'm doing a service for these guys. Bullshit. Get the fuck out of here. You're not doing anybody a service except for yourself. Don't make aspersions, or don't make claims to being a humanitarian because you have a successful OnlyFans channel and you're helping these guys out by being their digital waifu or some shit like that. You're not. Just call yourself what you are. You're an opportunist. I could call you a prostitute, but you're also an opportunist, and an opportunist that needs this absolution of their sins, right? You know what you're doing, but you've got to find some rationale, some hamster, some kind of reasoning to make you feel better about it. So and so again, this goes back to the nice guy thing, and guys really wanting to have some sort of relationship with a woman, but there's that fear of rejection. What is a buffer between that? Well, my text game's really tight, bro. You know, I clean up on, like, what guy does this, but I clean up on Tinder. I'm good on my Instagram game is tight, brother. Okay. Well, how's your game when you're in the club? How's your game when she shows up at your front door? What happens then? It's that personal interaction. When you remove the buffer, then what? You want ghosting is? Ghosting is a buffer. It's a digital buffer, right? Oh, she deleted me. She won't talk to me. She just deleted my name. She's like, she doesn't even know me, Rollo. I'm a loser. Zero me out. Oh, no, it's just easier for her to do that. Women will use ghosting as a buffer all the time. All the time. And you can do that with your friends too. I mean, if you're that much of a pussy that you say, hey, you know what, dude? I'm going to go my way. You go your way. Rather than, most people don't even do that, but like, at least there's a physical, like, or there's a live in real time, like, conversation. Hey, it's not working out. Thanks. Now that you were just a foodie call, and now I'm going to ghost you, because it's just easier to do that, because it's a buffer. That's why you get this. That's how you get these stats. That's how you get these stats. I'm gonna throw something up here real quick. Oh, also, that's how you get these stats. These are the demographics for long-term antidepressant use amongst women. I've used this day. Everybody and their mother is using this. I'm the one that dug it up, though. This is the long-term antidepressant factors here. Okay, notice this. This is a corollary. Once again, we're correlating data sets here. 2005. Look where it is right about 2005. Then look where it is at about 2010. Okay, keep that in mind, because the huge spike from 2010 to 2020-ish in particularly white women, 45 plus. Now that's pretty high above white men too, but look at that big gigantic spike right there at 2010. Okay. That's interesting. Rollo, what, how does that relate with this? Look at 2010 here, and then look at that spike up to 2018. And I bet if we had data for 2020, it would probably be way higher than that. So is there a correlation there? I don't know. Is there a causation there? Probably not, but you can certainly look at the way that we communicate right now. So you want to know why you don't have friends right now is because you don't know how. You only know how to do this. You only know how to relate with people that way. The number one thing that I get asked whenever I'm doing a consult, or actually I should say the thing that I ask first is, do you have any tribes? Do you have any friends? Guys will go, oh, I need some counseling. What do you charge? Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I shouldn't put it that way. I want to help you. But the first thing I'm going to ask you, if I take you on as a counseling, an analysis client, or whatever you want to call it, I don't even know what to call it. First thing I'm going to ask you is, do you have any tribes? Do you hang out with guys? Are you interested in any sports? Do you have a group of guys you play basketball with? Do you have a workout partner? You know who my best man was in my wedding? Was my workout partner, because he was my best friend at that time. His name was Matt. And I said, dude, I want you to be my best man. He's like, I'm right there. And he was totally cool with it. It was awesome. And I haven't talked to Matt in a while, but I used to be really super tight with Matt. But I have other friends right now. I think men tend to fluctuate in and out of friendships faster than women do. I think women tend to form friendships and they hang on to them. Whereas men go from, like, I'm not saying you don't have some type, maybe you have friends that you knew back in high school, but I think men tend to form a good, strong friendship and they move on to the next one and the next one. Like my best friend right now, still to this day, is my friend Ray. He's the Filipino guy that I know. And I know that right now, if I was to call up Ray, I could probably do this online. I could call up Ray, right? Because he knows who I am. He knows what I do. I could call Ray right now. And I don't think I've talked to Ray. See, I certainly haven't talked to him since before Miami. He did some photos for me not too long ago. So I probably haven't talked to Ray since like February. So I could call him up and we will pick up right where we left off, because that's just our relationship. That's how cool we are with one another. If I wanted to call him up, if I was depressed, I don't get depressed. I don't think I can remember when I think I was depressed. Not even so much I was sad, and I was mourning when my mother died back in December. But the last time I can remember being depressed was March of 2020 when Henry died. That's when I kind of got a little bit depressed for about a week and a half, and then I went and picked up Ned. Right. I for whatever reason, I need to have my dog in my life, and Ned is my dog now. So maybe that was when I did. But the first thing that jumped in my head wasn't, I need to call somebody, I'm depressed. No, you most guys will just say, take it on the chin, right? Knuckle up, sack up. And I did something about it. And most guys will end up doing that. You want to know why guys don't ask for directions? You're a guy, you're not asking for directions. So it must be you're insecure in your masculinity. No, men tend to be better at directions and geolocation than women do, innately are. Because we've had to, in our ancestral past, we had to know how to go out on a hunt, kill the woolly mammoth, and drag the meat back to the tribe. We had to figure out things, and as far as our sort of internal map, we have human males have better spatial abilities to manipulate 3D objects. We could throw objects better than women. We have better cognitive abilities when it comes to rational thinking processes. We have a better facility for that. Women have a better facility for communication. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not that I'm better than you or you're better than me. It's just that's just how the machine works. And the reason why guys get pissed off that they can't figure out that they would ever need to ask directions is because it goes against that evolutionary imperative. Like, shit, I'm actually lost. I'll never get lost. Yeah, let me tell you why. Because I got me one of these, and that's what I take when I go out on my sled. So I'll never get lost. But that, there used to be that kind of old trope about men never ask for directions. It must be because they're insecure in their masculinity. No, men just don't like being lost because we're supposed it's not because we're supposed to. Society didn't teach us that. It's because that's in our brain. Oh crap, where the hell am I? And again, most men know how to get from point A to point B just by where the sun is in the sky most of the time. So that's why. It's an evolutionary thing, man. All right, so that's that. I want to, last but not least, and then I'll get to where did I put that? There it is. This was the article that I wanted to show you guys. So this is Steve Factor. Now I don't know who this guy is, but he was related to Paul Graham, which is where I got the original data from. And I wanted to throw Steve. I just started following Steve as a result of this. Now, these are the things that this is what his rationalizations were, his correlations, I guess. This is what he's kind of drawing a conclusion to. And don't worry, I'm not going to finish up without giving you at least some sort of actionable advice here, okay? So these are his hypotheses. He gave 4 reasons. Actually, he gave more like 6, but here's the first 4. Aging population. So he says, as you age, the friend discovery phase ends. Everything about a person freezes in time, even relationships. Okay. I get what he's saying. I'm not saying he's wrong, because when you get older, you have less occasion, I think, to. Let me put me up. Let's go this way. I think you have less occasion, unless you're making friends at the old folks' home or something like that. But I would also say that in this instance, maybe digital communication sort of thwarts that a little bit. As long as grandma or grandpa can keep his cognitive abilities going, you can use Facebook to keep in touch with friends all you want. It's a digital buffer, yes. But if you are physically incapable of getting to go see new friends or make new friends, then maybe the digital way of doing it is actually your only way of doing it. So there is that. Now, he's thinking that as you age, this is a friend discovery phase ends. Now, that's what really kind of interested me, is the what is the friend discovery phase? I also wanted to know, again, what qualifies as a close friend? And this is never concretely defined. But so what's the discovery phase? Is when you're 5 years old and you meet your best friend in kindergarten, that's a discovery phase. Okay, when does it end and when is it at its peak? I'd like to know when you, because The guys who are in my band right now, I consider them really good friends. And in fact, CJ, I consider pretty close. CJ, if you're watching, you're my friend. I consider pretty close friends. I could call them up if I really wanted to talk about something. But the reason why they're my friends is because we have a mutual interest, which is making really good music and kicking ass and being in a band, right? For men, as I said before, men tend to form friendships and they tend to communicate over things that are like a mutual interest or as I said, the best friendships are the result of mutual interest. And that applies to women as well. It can apply to women as well. But I think for men, it's finding guys who have that mutual interest where you can get together and actually work on something together. 9 times out of 10, when guys get together and they are like building a project, like in my case, the best illustration I can use or I can think of right now is like my musical thing, but also like if you're into gaming, and I don't mean like just like video gaming. I mean like if you play a board game, or if you play Dungeons and Dragons, or you play like you don't have to do that. Like you play like a miniature war game, or you're playing whatever it is. You have to actually physically go somewhere to have an opponent across. You play chess. I don't care what it is. You have to have somebody there to go and do that. You have to have a mutual love of whatever that is. And then there's also like I've used this illustration before as well, is like when I go and I've worked in casinos for a very long time. I think I can count on the fingers of one hand how many times I've actually like put money into a video poker machine or a slot machine. Cause to me, that's like playing first of all, it's like playing a video game, but it's almost like masturbation. Like you're just like there's nobody in front of you. You're not doing it with anybody but yourself. And you have the worst odds in the casino anyways. When I gamble, I throw dice. Craps is my game. That's what or 20, I'll play cards, play 21 now and then because I enjoy that too. But I always want to have people around me and across from me. So there's the dealer there, there's the guys, and the guys are on your side too, by the way. They want you to win because if you win, then they're going to get tips. They want you to win. They'll tell you what your best bets are even. In fact, they encourage them to do that because the odds are, dice are dice, right? So, when you're playing, it's not like they're trying to bilk you out of your money. They want you to win because if they win, then the dealers win. So, but there's that human interaction, face to face, live in front of you. That's why OnlyFans is dangerous. That's why jerking off to porn is dangerous. I mean, figuratively speaking, anyways, because you're not there doing it with anybody else. Just the human interaction is completely gone. You're isolated. Now, you want to talk about like a year that isolated people even more? That's 2020, man. That's quarantine. That's lockdown, which in Canada, I guess you guys are still kind of in quarantine right now. It's ridiculous, but look at what happens when people are isolated and they are forced into isolation. So they do to prisoners. That's a form of punishment, man. Solitary confinement is a horrible punishment for a reason, because we're social animals. And when all we do is have a digital buffer between us, we think like it's an extroversion, right? We think that we're, oh, look at me, I'm on my jet ski. Yeah. No, you're looking at me on Instagram. Like when Fresh told me this, he said, you know what, you need to put more pictures on your Instagram because all I have is like pictures of Ned, right? And so I started putting some videos, some like little like clip videos, like 30-second to a minute videos of me playing like guitar or something, and they explode because people want to see that. Like they like that slice of life kind of stuff, and I'm glad you do, and I will continue to do so. It seems like that's a positive thing. But you know what will be better? As if you would come watch me jam, if you would come watch my band play, if you would like listen to and enjoy the product of me, the project that I work on with other friends. That's why men need tribes. That's why you need the friends at work. That's why you need the friends at, if you're Bible study, right? Your church, your workout partner, your coworkers, the people who do the same hobbies as you, the people who play the same sports as you. You need to get out and live life. And I think that's the problem, is most guys get sedated. Like I was just asked a minute ago, do you think that like the gynocentric social order wants to deliberately keep guys from getting together? Yes. And it's working. You know how I know it's working? This is how I know it's working. 30 years it has worked. So there you have that. I also, just to finish a thought here, when for most guys, their experience of putting a project together is not so much a project that they wanted to do. It's usually something that they had to do. So if you're working in a cubicle, or I don't know, wherever you work at, and you're putting together a business proposal, or you're trying to put together a new product or something like that, it's usually not your idea. It's usually someone else's idea. And you come together and you put a product together, and it's successful, and you make a lot of money at it, and you get to participate in the celebration that comes at the end of that. That's usually what most guys experience of like collaboration with the tribe, right? And the only tribe they have is whoever they're working with in the office, kind of thing. You need to break out of that. Start a band. Start an art collective. Start a chess club, right? Start a snowmobile or sledders, the Tahoe sledders. Come up and join the Tahoe sledders, right? Come and do something. Like, get out and go do things. Go to meetup.com and you can figure something out that you like, that other people like. Get out and meet people face to face. That, I think, is the number one problem we have. Go see a freaking concert, man. I'll tell you about, let me finish up here with Steve's stuff here, but I'm going to tell you something about like music aficionados. So there's that. Okay. Number 2 is declining birth rates. Kids via school activities are a friend discovery mechanism for adults, right? So, and I understand this, like fewer kids mean that you're not going to have play dates, right? You're not going to be going to soccer practice. Maybe you're not going to go to the kids ministry at church. Maybe you're not going to have game night or something like that because you don't have kids. Yeah, I'm sure the declining birth rate has something to do with that, but is it causation or is it correlation here? I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that I think it's probably less of a factor than some other things here. So yeah, there is that. I'll tell you what's funny to me is when I first got into reconditioning greyhounds back in 2010, my wife and I had a couple of other dogs that weren't greyhounds, and we loved them to death. I mean, they were just like pets. One was like a Chowbrador. It was like half Chow and half Lab. And another one was an English Pit Bull. Actually, she was mine. And so they passed on. I mean, they got up to a ripe old age of like 16 or 17. And so at that point we were in Florida and we're like, hey, let's go to I think we were on vacation. We had no dogs. It was the first time in our life where we had no pets whatsoever. And my daughter at that time was like in her, I don't even think she was a teenager then. And so we're like, hey, let's go to the dog track. Let's go to the Sanford Orlando dog track and go check out them dogs. Cause I think we'd seen something on TV about like adopting greyhounds. So we went down there to see what they are, and we just fell in love with them. And as a result of us wanting to get into greyhounds, we contacted, Gold Coast Greyhounds in Florida. And, my wife ended up becoming, and still is to this day, best friends with the lady who was our greyhound lady. She was our greyhound mama. And she was the one who gave us we adopted through her our first 2 greyhounds. And it turned into a really good relationship for my wife because she was a really great, she was just a really cool person, and they just clicked. And that was, again, mutual interest and a mutual interest that spawned a friendship between those two live in real time. It wasn't over the phone. It wasn't over social media. It was, hey, how are you doing? Hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm so-and-so. And I really like dogs. Me too. I really like dogs too. Blam. Let's do something. And that's when we got into reconditioning. That's when we started learning this stuff. I didn't have any clue what to do when I first started doing that. Now here I am 11 years later, and I'm on dog number 7 and 8 right now. So it's meeting people in real time. So maybe he's got a point right there. Number 3, move to cities. We're crowded but alone. And this is where he kind of pulls this up. And this was something he had already talked about. I'll just read the first paragraph of this. Crowded but alone. No culture exalts individuality, independence, and hero worship like the U.S. That approach has created some revolutionary entrepreneurs and iconic achievements. But these days, even when our heroes collaborate, they produce something more like the Avengers. A collective of self-absorbed assholes who prefer to do their own thing in their own way for their own reasons. Now, imagine more people than ever being able to trade in their we for me, and that's exactly what has happened. Okay. Yes, I do 100% agree with that. I think that, but that is a feature and not necessarily a bug, because not everyone, here's a little bit of folksy wisdom for you. Not everyone is out to get you, but everybody is out for themselves. Okay. So don't think everybody has your worst interests in mind, because especially if you have mutual interests together, that's great. We have a common enemy. We have a common project. We have a common interest. We're going to be friends. And maybe from that point, we become close friends, right? Great. Awesome. And I'm all for it. But the starting point was, you're the Avengers, right? The starting point was my own individual interests. The starting point was mental point of origin. The starting point was enlightened self-interest. That's not to say that you're a selfish son of a bitch. That means that you can't help others until you can help yourself, or you can't help others as well as when you help yourself first. That doesn't mean you don't help others. That doesn't mean that you are a selfish, self-centered prick, right? And also, I should say, puts you in a better position to be able to discern who is deserving of your own interests, who is deserving, who needs it. I hope you're like Mother Teresa, really. I hope you are a generous human being. Gandhi, right? Great. But nobody is selfless, and nobody is 100% altruistic. I think that's actually a pretty decent observation. And then number 4, he says this, death of a community. Replaced strong bonds of mutual necessity, there it is, with weak virtual bonds of interest. As we branch out to form virtual communities, we find them unwieldy, fleeting, cold, and lonely, because they are held together by weak bonds of interest, not sturdy bonds of necessity. Again, mutual interest, necessity. The best friendships are formed as a result of common need and common necessity. That robs us of our humanity. Okay. I don't know about that part, but he is 100% correct, I think, about the idea of mutual interest and the basis of friendships being a mutual interest. So that's that. Now, why are you friendless? Why are you forever alone? Why is it that you have some sort of social retardation? I mean that clinically. I hate that I have to keep saying that, but I do. What is it that's holding you back? What is it that is, I get this all the time. And it's usually from people who are socially awkward, and there's nothing wrong with being an introvert. There's just that you don't have to be an introvert, right? Well, that's just how I am. It's how God made me. It's just how I was born this way. Well, guess what? You can be an extrovert for half an hour. How's that? Learn how to do that. Learn how to fake it well enough. I'm very much an introverted person when I'm not on here screwing around with you guys. I know that might sound a little weird, but if I was to show you the rest of my studio here, you'd probably go, oh yeah. But I'm sort of an extroverted introvert, I think, if such a thing exists. And I'm not really big on the concept of pigeonholing people as extrovert or introvert. As I said, I think that the idea of extrovert and introvert is something that is pushed out as like extroverts are great guys. Well, they can be assholes too. Introverts, man, we're cerebral, we're intellectuals, we're smart. Yeah, you're smart in some ways and you're really dumb in other ways, right? That's just the way we are. There's nothing wrong with either one of those things. It's just that that's how we approach life. That's how we hit things. Oh, extroverts are going to get laid. Well, I've seen some introverts get laid too. It's just they do it, they're the artsy fartsy tortured artists, game works real well for those guys. So the real question is this, though: do you have a tribe, and do you interrelate with men? And I hate that. I just said that, how do you interrelate with men? Does that sound like I'm saying, oh, hey, you guys need to be gay? If I say men should relate with other men, notice that there's always, and even if you know what I'm talking, even if I'm being as antiseptic and as clinical as I possibly can be, if I say men need to get together and talk, or men need to get together and exchange ideas. If I say men need to get together, well, that sounds kind of gay. And that's by design, by the way. That's that the presumption that men might be getting together because they want to have cuddle parties, and cuddle parties lead to, ding, that there's that idea that, oh, you must be insecure in your masculinity if you think that, right? But there's still that's there, and it's there by design because it keeps guys from talking to other guys. I don't want to be French and gay. I don't want to talk to guys because that's a little on the was it Dimebag Daryl would have called it pushing maximum gayidity. If you ride in the key of F, you're pushing maximum gayidity, in a Texas accent too, by the way. But I think that there's an operative a latent purpose to that. I don't mean latent gay. I mean like latent as in the purpose of it is to keep men separate. Oh, what do these guys need to go to a men's convention for? What do these guys, why do they need to read a book? You should know how to do that already. I already know how to do that already. I just get it, right? Only weirdos and freaks would have a problem with talking to other guys. Then why would they need to learn about how to get girls? Why? Because if you knew how to get girls, then you would just get it. Just be like me, smile. Sooner or later, the right one will come along, right? What was I saying about Mike Rashid or Blue Pill Alphas are like the worst people to take advice from? Well, that's part of it. The other part is like learning, like admitting that you need to learn how to be social intelligence, right? Learning to socialize and socialize with other men. That's almost like admitting that you have like a disability, like you've lost a limb or something. I need to learn how to talk to guys. Whoa. And so you kind of have that. What am I talking? Like there's a kind of like reservation, a hesitation, and that sucks because how else do you learn it? There shouldn't be anything shameful about learning how to like socialize. Like when John from Modern Life Dating was doing body language mastery, and I'm looking at all these guys learning how to like hold a girl's hand and to walk and talk and all this other stuff, and it's like I can imagine, like, because I did the same thing. I can imagine like just normal people, normies, like seeing this, going, who doesn't know this shit? But they don't, and they do need that. And you have to kind of push past this idea that, well, they're weird, so just leave them alone and go on with the rest of your life. Well, it's not so much about, well, I can make a lot of money off these guys. That's what everybody in the black pill thinks that's what I'm motivated by. No, what I'm motivated by is like people not putting a noose around their neck. That's what I'm motivated by primarily. It's not that I don't want to be paid for what it is that I do. I do. But the reason I do what I do is so you don't end up like my brother-in-law or my friend who swallowed a bullet. I don't want, or Anthony Bourdain, right? I don't want you to end up that way. That sucks. Existence is infinitely preferable to non-existence. End of story. Let's talk about something else. So most guys don't have friends. Most guys don't have close friends. Or they think they have friends. Like, oh, does an online friend count as a close friend? There's some people that I talk to. Shit, I talk to John. If you're watching, you know damn well what I'm about to say. I talk to him at least every other day, but I don't talk to him unless he calls me. But we interact. I interact with Ryan every day. I interact with Rich every day. I interact with Sterling Cooper probably every other day. There's people that I can expect that I'm going to talk to. And yes, Kevin Savo, I will talk to you today too. So, Sam Bada, who's in the chat, I consider him a very good, very close friend, another guy that I have met live in person. And I did my best, and I still do my best to help him out because I know what happened to him. I know about his hit and run. And I'm glad he sings my praises, but that's not why I did it. I did it because it's the right thing to do.